If your Achilles snapped tomorrow, how do you think you're right? Yeah, touch wood. Yeah, this is actually a wooden table as well. That's good news. Good. That's good news. How would your identity cope with that reality?
I speak on this often, actually. I feel like my identity would then be around the recovery. Like even right now, as I sit here in front of you today, like I don't think my identity is wrapped around being a runner or an ultra marathoner, right? I think at a human level, I'm a human first, and I enjoy media. I enjoy marketing. I enjoy branding and storytelling. And I think to me, that's actually more of who I am than just a runner. And I think running is just a vehicle to allow me to do all of those things. So if something like that did happen to me tomorrow, then I would find a way to storytell around what that process looks like. And then to show people the ins and outs of, yeah, like it sucks. Sometimes you get the short end of the stick. Sometimes you train your ass off and something still goes wrong. And ultimately you can't control what happens after the fact. It's now, how do you control the narrative inside your own head, as hard as it is, as tough as it is, as much that as it affects my business too, probably, right?
Yeah.
Because if I can't go to world majors and I can't do X, Y, and Z, like, yeah, at some financial level, it also hurts revenue and it hurts the business. But I think equally, not getting so consumed in just the one activity that I do is one of the biggest lessons I got from playing football. Was I was so consumed as my identity as a football player when I was playing through high school and college. And that was exactly how I was showing up. Oh, I'm a football player. Like that's what I felt comfortable explaining myself as, versus no, like I'm a student athlete, or I do X, Y, and Z. Like I just happen to also play football. So I think as I got in transition and I started getting into running and in personal training, I started telling myself, I'm like, I never want to get back to that moment of life where I feel like I'm trapping myself in a box. Because at the end of the day, society is always going to do that to you. Everyone's going to always say, oh, you're that runner guy. You're that TikTok guy. And I always say that if I'm 6 feet under and if people only remember me for just being the runner guy, then I've sold myself short. So I think if something like that does happen to me, then, and obviously it's easy to say this here as I'm healthy and I'm sitting right in front of you. But I think where my mind goes is that I would wrap that on its head and flip it on its head and say, hey, like, how do we now keep the same mindset and framework of being positive and being optimistic and looking at the good even in this shitty situation, to then help allow other people to say, hey, when you get through something like this, like, don't let this dictate who you are.